So back in the, I think it was the 19th century, when archaeologists first started excavating ancient Roman and Middle Eastern tombs,
Mm.
they kept finding these really mysterious little vials.
Right, those tiny glass and terracotta ones.
Yeah, exactly. Incredibly delicate little things. And they were always placed right next to the urns of the deceased. So for a really long time, the prevailing theory was just that, they held perfumes or oils for the burial.
Which makes sense. I mean, that was super common.
Totally makes sense. But as historians dug deeper into the actual cultural practices of the ancient Near East, they realized these weren't for perfume at all. They were actually called lacrimatories,
Wow.
and their sole purpose was to collect human tears.
It's just such a stunning image.
It really is. And if you are listening to this right now, friend, and you've been carrying a really heavy weight lately,
Mhm.
if you're listening with that tight, that suffocating grip of anxiety in your chest, or if you've just been crying a lot behind closed doors, just showing up and pressing play today takes courage. We are doing a deep dive into a text called The Bottle of Tears, God's Care for Your Pain.
And it is such a beautiful source.
It really is. Our mission today is to explore the profound psychological and spiritual comfort that's found in just a single ancient verse. It's Psalm 56:8. And we're going to talk about the staggering reality that your pain is intimately witnessed.
It's a fascinating text because it doesn't do the thing we're so used to. It doesn't offer those typical quick fixes that we're culturally conditioned to expect.
Right, the just cheer up kind of advice.
Exactly, because anxiety has this really cruel way of convincing us that our pain is just, well, too much for anyone else to handle.
Oh, absolutely. Or that it's entirely invisible to everyone else.
Yes. And this source material counters that isolation by anchoring its theology in that ancient practice you just mentioned, the tear bottles. It points to a presence that doesn't just, stand back and observe human suffering, it actively honors it.
That distinction right there
Hmm.
between just observing and actually honoring is exactly where the text gets so specific.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally catalogs the exact environments where we tend to finally break down.
Yes, the locations are so spot on.
They really are. It highlights the quiet kind of tears in the shower, the 2 a.m. tears when anxiety is just keeping you awake, and then, the tears that hit out of nowhere while you're driving.
Yeah, the car cries.
The car cries. Reading it, I was just so struck by how universally human those three specific locations are. I mean, there has to be some undeniable environmental psychology at play there, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the shower, the car, and the middle of the night,
Yeah.
they are all environments of sensory isolation.
Okay, unpack that a little bit.
Well, think about the shower. The
Yeah.
acoustic masking of the running water provides this deep sense of safety. You're enveloped in physical warmth, which actually mimics physical touch.
Oh, wow. Never thought about that.
Yeah, and the white noise just drowns out the entire external world. It literally signals to your nervous system that it is finally safe to drop the facade.
And I guess driving is pretty similar, but with like forward momentum.
Yeah.
You're enclosed in this little steel pod.
Yeah.
And the task of driving occupies the conscious part of your brain just enough that your subconscious defenses finally lower.
Right, your guard comes down.
Yeah. You hear a certain song, and suddenly the grief or the stress that you've been compartmentalizing all day long just floods the system. And you're gripping the steering wheel completely overwhelmed.
And then, of course, you have the 2 a.m. tossings, which the source text explicitly links to that verse, Psalm 56:8.
The middle of the night is always the hardest.
It really is. Biologically, at 2 a.m., your circadian rhythm is at a point where your core body temperature and your natural cortisol levels are dropping. But if you have anxiety, your central nervous system is overriding that natural dip. It's fighting it. The rest of the house is totally silent. There are no external distractions. So your brain's default mode network just kicks into absolute overdrive.
Spiraling through all the worst case scenarios.
Exactly, spiraling. It is arguably the most isolating human experience because, the physical world is completely at rest, but your internal world is enduring a Category 5 hurricane.
A hurricane. That's
Yep.
exactly what it feels like. So in the middle of that internal hurricane, the text points to this verse. You have kept count of my tossings, put my tears in your bottle.
Yeah.
And honestly, understanding what a lacrimatory is changes that verse entirely for me. I always used to think that was just a nice poetic metaphor.
Most people do.
Right. But David, the author of the psalm, is referencing a very literal, tangible, physical practice.
He is. And the mechanics of that practice are deeply revealing. In the ancient Greco-Roman and Near Eastern worlds, When someone experienced profound grief, say, like the loss of a loved one, they would physically hold these small glass or clay bottles right up to their faces.
Literally catching the drops as they fell.
Exactly, catching them. And then the bottle was capped and kept as a tangible memorial, or sometimes it was even buried with the deceased.
What really strikes me about that is just the sheer reverence for the physical reality of the pain. The amount of tears collected was a literal measure of the grief.
They were assigning real value to it.
Yeah. They were saying, this pain has mass, it has volume, it physically exists in the real world. But, I mean, our modern culture treats tears like a hazardous chemical spill.
Oh, completely.
We treat them like a leak under the sink that just needs to be urgently patched up before it causes water damage.
The modern reflex is always to hide them as quickly as possible.
Instantly. I mean, what's the very first thing people say when they start crying in front of someone else?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yes, we apologize for our own biology. We frantically dig around for a tissue to just erase the evidence. But the ancient concept of the lacrimatory completely flips that script.
It treats those tears like rare jewels or, an expensive perfume that you'd carefully store in a glass vial.
Right. And the text we're analyzing takes it a step further, which is wild. It's not just a human mourner collecting their own tears. The text declares that the creator of the universe is the one leaning in to catch them.
Which fundamentally alters the power dynamic of suffering. I mean, if the divine is the one holding the bottle, it means God isn't looking away in discomfort.
Right, because human beings often get so deeply dysregulated when someone else starts weeping.
We really do. We don't know where to look. We check our phones. We awkwardly shift our weight.
Or we just want it to be over.
Exactly. But the text emphasizes that God doesn't do that. He is actively, carefully collecting every single drop. It elevates human suffering from a socially awkward nuisance to an experience that is deeply, deeply sacred.
That brings up such a fascinating psychological parallel, too. The source material spends a lot of time on what it calls the ministry of presence.
Such a great concept.
It really makes this sharp distinction between someone trying to fix your pain and someone simply witnessing it. And if we look at the neurology of anxiety, this makes perfect sense.
Oh, 100%.
When you are drowning in a panic attack, someone rushing in with a little 5-step plan to cheer you up actually makes you feel significantly worse.
And that's because of how the nervous system interprets that intervention. When you are in the throes of deep anxiety, your amygdala, which is basically the brain's threat detection center, is fully activated.
It's just sounding the alarm.
Yes, blaring. And your prefrontal cortex, the part that handles logic and reasoning, it basically goes offline.
So you literally can't reason your way out of it.
You can't. So when a well-meaning person rushes in to quote-unquote fix you, they are subtly communicating that your current emotional state is unacceptable.
Right, the brain interprets their help as a demand to change states immediately,
Ugh.
which just feels like another threat.
Exactly. It invalidates the pain. It communicates that your tears are a problem to be solved rather than a reality that just needs to be processed.
Anxiety is already deeply lonely because it's invisible. I
Yeah.
mean, you might look perfectly put together on the outside while your mind is enduring sheer terror.
It's exhausting. And when someone tries to rush you to the happy ending, it just reinforces that isolation. It tells you they don't actually understand the severity of what you're experiencing. But this is where the concept of co-regulation comes in.
Co-regulation, meaning we sort of borrow the calm from someone else's nervous system.
Exactly. When someone simply sits with you, when they bear witness to your grief without trying to change it, their calm, regulated presence actually signals safety to your vagus nerve.
Wow.
Yeah, that silent witnessing brings actual physiological relief. And the text points out that God is the ultimate perfectly regulated witness.
Because God sees you more clearly than anyone ever could.
Yeah.
Your specific personal anxiety is not invisible to him.
Right. He's not handing you a tissue and awkwardly telling you to look on the bright side. He is validating the reality of the pain just by staying present in it.
He honors it.
He honors it. The theological claim here is that God's perfect witnessing doesn't just passively observe the pain, it validates it entirely.
Let them fall. I've got them. I mean, that is the core message of the lacrimatory. Which leads us to how we actually apply this when the anxiety hits.
Yeah, the practical application.
The source material is very direct here. It says if you need to cry today, cry. Do not hold it in. Let the tears come.
But we should talk about why that is so incredibly difficult to do.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because the instinct to hold it together isn't usually born out of pride, right? It's born out of survival.
It is a protective mechanism. I mean, when you have kids to feed, a spouse who is stressed, a job that demands your focus, holding it in feels like the only way to keep the ecosystem of your life from collapsing.
We often visualize crying like a structural failure.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we think of ourselves as this massive suspension bridge carrying all this heavy traffic. Our families, our responsibilities, our friends.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
And we assume that if we start crying, it means the steel cables are snapping. It means the bridge is collapsing into the river, and everyone relying on us is going down with it. So we suppress the tears just to keep the bridge intact.
But structural engineering actually tells us the exact opposite.
Does it?
Yeah. A perfectly rigid bridge is a dangerous bridge.
Oh, exactly. Bridges are intentionally built to sway in the wind and flex under heavy loads.
Wait, the sway isn't a symptom of the bridge failing.
No, the sway is the exact mechanism that keeps the bridge from shattering into a million pieces. The flexibility absorbs all that kinetic energy. If you engineer a bridge to be completely rigid, the concrete cracks and the whole thing comes down.
Crying is the sway.
Crying is the sway.
That is such a brilliant way to understand the biological function of tears. Because emotional tears literally contain higher levels of stress hormones like cortisol.
Really. Like physical stress hormones are in the tears.
Yes. And natural painkillers too, like leucine and kephalin. So when you cry, you are physically excreting the chemical buildup of stress from your body. You are swaying in the wind to absorb the shock.
And the text assures us that this release is entirely safe because you aren't swaying out into a void.
No, God is catching the release.
You don't have to be afraid of your own tears, friend.
Yeah.
You don't have to be afraid that you will never stop crying once you start because the creator of the universe is the one collecting them.
And that connects directly to probably the most profound promise in this entire text, the idea that nothing about this struggle is wasted.
Nothing is wasted. That phrase is really the pivot point of the whole deep dive today.
It is, because if God is actively collecting every tear, it means he is taking responsibility for the pain. In the ancient practice, the lacrimatories just sat on a shelf in a dusty tomb as a static memorial.
Right, they didn't do anything.
Exactly. But the text presents an active divine presence. If your sorrow is being gathered, it is not being lost to the void.
It's being utilized.
Yes. From a psychological standpoint, pain that is fully witnessed and processed becomes integrated into your sense of self. It literally becomes wisdom and empathy.
And from the spiritual standpoint of the text, the struggle is being woven into something deeply purposeful. Even if you cannot possibly perceive the pattern from your current vantage point in the middle of the storm.
Because pain almost always feels senseless when you're in it.
Oh, completely. Anxiety feels like a useless, cruel thief of your time and your energy. It just feels like a drain.
But this text reframes that completely. It argues that your specific pain has weight, it has deep meaning, and it matters immensely because it is held by the divine.
It tells you that your endurance is not going unnoticed. The isolation is just an illusion.
To know that the quiet shower tears, the 2 a.m. tossings, the breakdown in the car, none of it slipped by unnoticed.
None of it. As we wrap up our analysis of the bottle of tears, we really want to lay out the core takeaways for you. When your nervous system is overwhelmed by anxiety, it can be really hard to retain information.
It really can.
So let's just crystallize what this text is actually offering you today.
There are 4 grounding realities to hold on to here. First, God collects your tears. Every single one of them has value.
Second, your pain is never invisible to him. You are fully, completely seen.
Third, it is necessary, and it is safe to cry. You have permission to sway in the wind.
And finally, absolutely nothing about your struggle is wasted.
Nothing.
The source text ends with this very specific, incredibly tender prayer. And instead of summarizing it, I'm just going to read it right now, word for word over you.
That's perfect.
Just let the reality of these words settle in. Lord, you see every tear I have cried. You have counted every sleepless night, every anxious thought. Nothing about my pain is wasted in your hands. Thank you for caring about the details of my life. I give you my tears today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
As you go through the rest of your day, friend, or as you try to finally get some sleep tonight, we want to leave you with a final image to carry with you.
Something to just hold on to.
Yeah. What if the very next time the tears start to fall, whether the water is running in the shower, or you're gripping the steering wheel in traffic, or the clock is glowing at 2 a.m., what if, instead of feeling ashamed,
And instead of feeling like you are hopelessly falling apart,
you visualize those exact tears being carefully, lovingly gathered by the creator of the universe.
What if the moment you feel most broken is actually the exact moment you are most fully seen?
Hold on to that. We'll be right here with you next time.